following show features stupid opinions and ideas from two idiot brothers who probably did little research and practiced zero due diligence on the topic at hand. The MLO Bros opinions do not reflect the views of their employer, guests, sponsors, families, neighbors, or pets. If you do not like what they are saying and don't agree with their views or opinions, don't watch the show. We can promise we do not care. Welcome to the worst show on the internet.
You didn't do it at everybody, did you?
Oh, I did. I did do an ad.
How dare you? All these people are inconvenienced.
I'm gonna get called a bully, and
you are a bully,
and then a snowflake at the same time, dude. It's like,
and you're gonna get called, and if they're
a liberal snowflake at the same time,
they're gonna call you a liberal. If they're a Democrat, they're gonna call you a conservative, or whatever it is.
Alt-right,
because you just did that. I am so tired of people calling us bullies and everything. And it's like, all it is, I truly believe, I'm letting people post, they're assholes, and then we call them out on it, and then we're bullies. It's like victims. Oh,
so if you would have just not blocked them and kicked them out from the beginning, I think they still would have been mad, and they still would have been very vocal. And now it's just like, there's no winning. You know what I mean? There's no winning with people because
no matter what we do, they're gonna cry, they're gonna whine. I don't care.
So then you're still mean when you like say, I don't agree with that, even though they wanted to speak out against it, and now we counter and they just call us bullies anyways. It's
like, wow. So we let them post, and we're going back and forth with them, and then we're bullies.
Today we're going to talk about the school levy and why it's important. I have a rent before you come at me and say you don't even live in Poland anymore. It affects me because I have a rental property in Poland schools. So I want my property value to go up. And I think that the school levy passing and getting a new school will improve my property value. It's an investment. That's what we're going to talk about.
Getting ahead of it. And another thing, we, the MLO Bros, are not representative of the school.
No.
We're not representative of the village, of the township.
No.
If you don't like what we say, I am totally biased. Do you hear me? We're not a news organization. I am totally biased. I want the levy to pass. I'm telling you up front right now. I am passionate about it. The people we are bringing on are passionate about it. If you don't like what we're saying and you don't agree with it, don't watch.
On top of that,
Jeez.
We have our opinions, but we also live in America where you can vote however you want. I don't care how you vote. Vote however you want. That is the beauty of living here.
Do what you want. Say what you want. But again, when you say something you don't agree, when you say something and you want to give your opinion like we do, we know there's going to be repercussions.
That's actually our marketing slogan. It is.
Yeah, we really are. So let's bring on our friends, Isaac, shall we?
Sure.
Let's bring on Eddie, Mr. Muransky Jr.
What's going on?
And the girls, Diane and Stephanie. How are you guys?
Hi. Good.
Thanks for coming on the show. Sorry, I had to get that dad talk out of the way first before we started.
Didn't we just talk about being civil?
Yeah, I was being civil.
We are being civil. That is civil.
Okay. All right.
You should see me being uncivil.
Okay.
Stephanie, can you move a little bit closer to Diane?
Okay, I'm trying to kind of avoid, but
yeah, it's all right. All right. Look, Stephanie just says it. You clearly state we're two idiot brothers that do zero due diligence. However, you bring it on to exactly. So there we go. All right. So
give yourselves enough credit. You do plenty of due diligence.
Well, thanks, Eddie. We appreciate that. So let's talk. Let's meet our guest, shall we, Isaac? Is that the best way to do it? So let's go, ladies first. Diane, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Diane. I joined the levy committee super late, actually, only about 3 weeks ago. And I just think this will be really good for the district and our community.
And you are Diane Crowe, correct?
Yep.
From Crowe Cabinets. Throw it.
Yeah, my husband and I own Crowe's Cabinets. We have for 6 years, and we've been in business for 45.
There you go. So you got to throw that out there. You got a chance to get in front of everybody to advertise. Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Dougherty. I'm just an average citizen that is passionate about education. I moved to Poland about 12 years ago, and I always saw it as a tight-knit community that took pride in their history and their traditions, but we're also ready to move forward into the future. And I want to see that happen with the schools. And let's do this.
There you go.
And I'm Eddie Muransky. I am a Poland resident and parent. I went to school here as a little kid in the late 80s, early 90s. Moved around a little. My sisters graduated from here in 05 and 07 and moved back to Poland in 2012. And I have two little boys, 1 and 3. So that's kind of what led me into doing more research here and helping out with the committee to get the levy passed. I think it'd be a great deal for everybody.
Eddie, you're a pretty smart guy. Where'd you go to school?
The University of Michigan for undergrad and for law school.
Oh, law school too. Okay, cool. So you're not
University of Michigan?
You're pretty smart. You got some good.
Not very popular around here.
Well educated.
Yeah.
Well educated. Okay.
Well educated at that place to the north. Ugh.
Yeah. That's right.
That's all right. We won't hold it against you. So where do we want to start with this? Because we got a lot to cover here in an hour. So
well first
I'm going to start kicking people out. Hold on.
Hi Jeff. Go blue. Here we go.
Get going back.
I think I'd like to start, and Stephanie and Diane, feel free to step in whenever you want. I want to kind of lay out our case for it and really try and have a civil discussion for the chatter that I'm hearing against it as well. Because, I mean, we're all one community here. I think we could talk about this like adults.
Yes.
And that's all I ask for is just for people really on both sides to delve into the issue and the numbers a little bit more. But, just to start out, first and foremost, this probably goes without saying, but, our committee thinks that, supporting the schools in Poland is so important. I mean, a U.S. president went here. Ida Tarbell, one of the greatest journalists in American history, taught here. You could count the famous alums and all the successful people that went here. I mean, through the years, there's just so many of them. And so much of the history of Poland has been written by the schools. And it's just, again, I went here as a kid, saw my sisters go through it 20 years ago, and now seeing it today as a soon-to-be school parent. I think we're at a very critical juncture in our history as far as the facilities go. And as I'll talk about in a little bit, I just think it is such a better value for everybody to go build new now, as opposed to continuing to put millions and millions of dollars a year into our existing buildings that I'm not knocking. They've been great. They've served us very well. But if you just look objectively at how old they all are, I mean, the middle school is approaching 100 years old. North Elementary's closed. That was built in the 50s or early 60s. Same with Dobbins, and the high school is the newest one, built in the early 70s. And McKinley was built as a temporary school in the late 50s. So, I mean, I don't have an axe to grind here. I just think if you look at this objectively, it's time. And I like Isaac said, it will be a wonderful thing for our property values. You guys do this for a living. You see what moves the needle for real estate buyers. And I know the price tag for this sounds high, but when you look at it in terms of buying and selling real estate, your house only has to go up an extra 2% in 5 years, 4% in 10 years to pay for this. And then anything above that is profit. And you guys know from your business, like that percentage, that's a rounding error when you have people in a bidding war for a house.
100%.
New schools would look like Ivy League campuses in our town and would be, in my opinion, a true game changer. So, that's why we're here. So, I mean, we think it should pass. Great value for everybody.
Especially if other schools in our area, in the greater Youngstown area, aren't doing anything like we're doing. If we're standing out, that's the difference between someone saying, I'll go to Canfield or I'll go to Poland because they just got new schools. That increases demand of people wanting to live in Poland, and that increases property value. If it's more than 2%, more than pays for anything you're going to pay for the school.
Yeah. You look at it, the average home price in Poland, I think, is somewhere, it's like between $200,000 and $250,000. So I know this levy, $441 per year per 100,000 on your house. Sounds steep, and I'm not sugarcoating it. That's a lot of cash in the here and now. But over a 5-year period, your $200,000 house now has to sell for $210,000 for you to make an additional profit off of it. You don't think that's going to happen when you have 3 big, sparkling, brand new schools to show young families coming in here? And that's what I know that Dan Rivers was nice enough to have me on his show yesterday to talk about this. I think he's against it, and most of his listeners are. And he laid out some reasonable arguments against it. I know this isn't for everybody. No political issue is. But, if somebody's in a position to think in terms of an investment like that, I really think if you delve into the numbers here, it really is a wonderful prospect for us going forward. And conversely,
the only argument I can understand is the folks that have fixed income.
Yeah.
And
the cash just isn't there.
Yeah, cash just isn't there. But I think there are enough folks that can afford it, that if they start viewing it as that investment rather than just an increase in like soon increase in their total money they have to spend per month. I think if they view it as an investment, I think they can afford it. And I think that will sway them if they understand that better. But
yeah, exactly.
Like
I never tell anybody to spend money they don't have. That's not what I'm here for. And everybody should take care of themselves and do not spend money you don't have. But if you're in position to, to possibly think of it like an investment, I think it's well worth doing so.
And Dan Rivers' other argument was always from listening. He said, why don't we just fix up what we have? I came from being raised where, we fix what we have, but how, like, at what cost, Dan Rivers? We've had so many guests on that said it's so expensive to fix up what we have.
Right. All right. I'm going to jump in.
Sorry, go ahead, Diane.
I'm going to jump in on this one. So we all know the district spends $2.4 million a year just for general maintenance and upkeep of the buildings.
Basic stuff.
Yeah. And then I know when the soup came to our house, we were one of the earlier houses to host one of his meetings, and the 4 options kind of are still on the table. And option 4 was to renovate the buildings. And that one got quickly, done away with, because to renovate the buildings per plan number 4 that they had and presented, it would have been $94 million. So why would you spend 94 to renovate? And again, no new plumbing, not new electrical,
no additional bathrooms.
Yeah, no additional bathrooms. Why would you spend 94 million to Band-Aid schools when you can spend 105, after the state money, and have 3 brand new facilities that are wheelchair accessible, that are up to, unfortunately, modern school safety needs, and that have modern school, technology needs. I mean, I know there are classrooms in the middle school that have like 2 or 3 outlets for the whole classroom, and they have Chromebook carts with 30 Chromebooks plugged in, charging on 1 wall outlet.
Well, the bathroom thing, let's talk about that, right? Yeah. I mean, the bathroom thing at what's it called has 1 bathroom on the 3rd floor, or in the basement.
Union does, yeah.
Union. It has 1 bathroom for the entire school. And then don't even get me started on the handicap accessible, where you have poor kids in the middle school that can't get to classes in time because they got to use the little chairs to go up the stairs. Like,
or literally go outside.
Or literally go outside to get to the class because they can't use the stairs. People don't understand that or see that. And it's super frustrating when they're like, oh, just fix it up. You can't. And we have there's handy, like I said, the disabled kids can't get up the stairs. Like, give me a break.
Or do you have to leave class early in order to get to the chairlift? And because it's, the speed at which the chairlift moves.
Right.
And because of, congestion in the hallways, that person has to leave class early, and then they're losing instruction or gets to class late.
Right.
We all know how valuable that instructional time is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
full disclosure, when I got into this, that was my inclination at first, was I think renovations would be the best value here. That's kind of how I thought things would come out. So I hope people know I don't have an axe to grind on any specific plan here. I came into this with an open mind. I just thought something needed to be done. But like Diane said, I mean, when you got 94 million compared to 105 to actually renovate these buildings and modernize them, just the value on new buildings is so much better. And, if you look at just the way costs have gone, Bo Weaver is a friend of mine that was on the board 8 years ago when they tried this last time. They were going to do a new K-8 on the Dobbins campus. So it's 2015. It doesn't seem that long ago. That K-8 campus was going to cost $32 million. And now we're looking at 105. Schools. Like, I don't want to go into the future, and let costs continue to escalate. And who knows what this would cost 10 years from now if you had to do this. And I just think that's why the value, and, those voting no, like I said, I know there's reasonable arguments against it, but voting no has a cost too. and just keeping the status quo. It just seems like such a terrible value to me with the millions and millions, like Diane said, that we spend just for basic things. This is like replacing a boiler, getting a new roof on the high school, just basic things that don't really change anything. And you're still going to need new or severely renovated buildings anyway in the future.
On top of that, if I could just add, if we continue to spend the 2.4 million over the course of the 36 years, I think it was like 88
I think
million,
it was like either
or
88
90
or
million
98, no, something
and that's
like that.
if the costs stayed at 2.4 million a year for the next 30 years.
The cost is right. They don't open up buildings. Like one thing I keep hearing is people say, "Oh, there's a surplus of 8.5 million." There really isn't, because that 8.5 million was saved by closing the schools down. Right now,
that was actually a question that was asked a lot. I keep hearing about this surplus. So I did reach out to the superintendent and the treasurer and got an answer about this surplus of money. And there seemed to be a little bit of confusion on the public's part about the difference between emergency requirements and a surplus.
It was just
it's down here. It's on the FAQ section of our website, actually. So I'm just going to summarize it so that I don't read directly.
Yeah, you're good.
Let me get it here. I just passed it. Oh, here we go. The 5-year forecast does show a positive cash balance if this is what is being referred to as a surplus. However, the forecast also reflects that the district is deficit spending, meaning expenditures are exceeding revenue each year of the forecast. Therefore, the district's carryover positive balance will continue to decline. Remember, the forecast is general fund only. So, and I know we don't have this surplus, and even if we did, what is $8 million going to get us?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what the most of the philanthropy that all of us are used to around town are a lot smaller projects. Like I think it's hard for people to grasp just how expensive it is to do anything significant in a school. You're talking $50-100 million to get up there, and it's just not practical with changing a few things around in the budget or soliciting a few donations. That stuff is nice and can help, but for something seismic like this, where the buildings have outlived their useful life, it's just not practical. And like Stephanie said, that surplus now, their deficit spending, that's just based on current expenses for these old buildings. We all know that's going to get worse.
Right. And as new houses are built in Poland, every new house that gets built will take a piece of the levy pie and they will contribute too. So over time, we know that there's at least one project coming up, possibly two, putting in, different, new developments going up, and everyone that's coming in is going to start paying into it too. So our costs per, taxes for this levy are only going to go down as more houses get built.
And there is land in Poland to build, despite or contrary to popular belief. There are places to build. There's places by Park Place, by Giant Eagle, Poland Preserve. What's the other one you said? Timberbrook area?
Like, the back end of Timberbrook. I mean, I think they only ever did like phase 1 of Timberbrook. There's like a huge, they like started the next street and it's just like a dead end right now, but there's all kinds of lots that if people came knocking, the developers are going to open it up and build the streets and let people build back there.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing with new housing there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Game changer for that.
And like Isaac said, if Canfield passes and we don't, and people are coming in from out of town, which happens a lot, and the schools is a good, it's the number one question, and Canfield and Poland pretty much run neck and neck. Do you really think that people are going to pick Poland over Canfield if Canfield has brand new school buildings and we don't?
Yeah.
South Range is pretty good too, just saying. But,
it is.
And that's what
there are Canfield voters out there. Their district needs a new building as well. Both districts are in desperate need of new facilities.
Yeah. And, and that's my point about property values. That works in the negative direction too. If you vote no, your property value could drop and cost you more money than you're saving. That swings in both directions.
But Eddie, I'm not even going to live here that much longer. Why would I ever do that? That's the excuse you're going to hear from them.
Yeah. Which, and again, and the thing that Dan brought up that I hadn't thought of before, and is a very fair point. Some people just aren't in a position to be thinking about buying and selling real estate over the next 5 or 10 years. They don't have the upward mobility to be thinking about that. And I respect that. But for those reasons, I just wish people would be a little more transparent about them. Unfortunately, I think this is kind of morphed into some of the opponents taking pot shots at the school district that are just a little bit unfair and kind of isn't fair to the great work that they're doing there at the school.
I mean, Janet Muntean, our district is so lucky to have her. She is so sharp and she is on it. And I mean, I don't think the district would be in as good of a financial position now as we are if she wasn't here,
100%.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
You have a comment here, Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Talk also about safety and security. I imagine there are limitations with wiring and electrical systems built 50 or 100 years ago. That's a top 2 item for every parent I know. The old schools have so many doors and entrances. PSHS literally had 12.
Yeah, and that's one of the little things that I didn't think about that at first before I started researching this. But that's unfortunately, like Diane and Stephanie said, a modern issue that you have to think about. Is the entrances and exits that, when you go back to the era when these schools were built, I mean, school shootings didn't happen back then.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I wish that would come back, but unfortunately that's not the case. And you have to think about these things. And like they said, with the wiring and electrical, it's just, like I said, I'm not bad. Our buildings have done great. They've way outlived what most people would expect. But, would you just look at it objectively, they're at an age when it's time to start think about the next step.
Right. And these aren't like your house. You have 3 toilets in your house and they get flushed, 2 times a day, 3 times a day each, especially if you work all day and your kids are in school and you're not home. But the toilets at all the schools get flushed how many times a day? There's how many kids walking through the hall, hundreds of kids walking through the halls, using the lockers. All the middle school parents out there know. I'm like, if you have a middle schooler with a locker that actually has an intact bottom, raise your hand, because they're all shot. It's wear and tear over time, and new facilities will fix all of that.
Yeah, and that's not negligence on the part of the schools; it's just aging. And,
right.
I know that kind of the debate last time was, well, how'd you let these buildings get into the state? And that's not, it's not like that. It's just, that's what happens when buildings age out. And that's, like I said, it becomes a worse value to continue to maintain them rather than to look towards something.
What do you say to the people though? So with that, I'll play devil's advocate this time. What do you say to the people that say, well, there's plenty of old buildings around town that are fine. Why can't we just, you know what I mean? Why are the schools the way they are versus the old buildings?
Very fair question. And that was my first inclination when getting into this. Can't you mix and match some of the buildings that are in better shape? Dobbins looks okay. North isn't that old, things like that. But those elementary schools were built as neighborhood elementary schools in the 50s and 60s. None of them are the size to really make a difference. They could go put a couple grades into Dobbins right now, but it literally would fit 2 full Poland grades right now. So then you'd be getting into the expenses with more principals and more cafeterias and things like that, where then those costs start to spiral out of control. And like I said, the buildings are still 60, 70 plus years old anyway. So that's where, like I said, just when I looked at this, I just didn't think the value proposition was there to do something like that.
Makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me. And again, I just think a lot of these, the no people, you have the people who can't afford it, right?
Yeah,
and then
totally
you have
understand it. Yeah.
And I get it. I totally get it, right? I get it. You're on a fixed income. It's the other people making excuses that I think there's great ways to prove what they're saying, like that 8.5 million we brought up earlier. It's not what they think, or the buildings aren't what they think, or it's like we can't keep duct taping and patching stuff up. It's beyond that, and it's not negligence on the school, like Eddie just said. It's the actual, it's just wear and tear on a very bit. We're not talking about a house like Diane said, where somebody goes in and goes to the bathroom 3 times a day. It's kids. It's kids. I mean, I have 3 kids and my house is destroyed, right? I mean, imagine all the kids, 2,000 of them. It's crazy.
And last year, the plumbing backed up in McKinley, and they had to use a different bathroom for the whole week, and they missed a whole day of school because there was literally poop water all over the floor.
Ernest was out during conferences in McKinley.
Yeah.
And I had to go in there, and the teachers were freezing during conferences because there wasn't heat, because they were afraid to turn the boiler on because it was going to fire off the fire alarm and cause all kinds of problems.
It did last week. The fire alarm went off before all the elementary kids got there because something
in the middle of picture day for the
schools. I've heard examples of schools across the United States where stuff like this happens. You have to literally, there's poop water on the floor, record it and put it out in the community and let them know this is going on in the schools, because people don't know what's happening in the schools in the day-to-day. The boiler, like the teachers are freezing in conferences. Luke, record teachers in their conference room saying it's freezing in here because we're afraid the boiler's going to explode if we turn it on or set the fire alarms on. Like the people don't understand these day-to-day things because these folks who don't have any kids in the school and they're empty nesters, they never get to experience the day-to-day. So they don't understand. They think it was good 50 years ago. It's fine now, I'm sure.
And to be honest, maybe to a shorter time frame, I was like that. I went here in the 90s, saw my sisters. I'm like, it's probably fine. But then, like, when I actually looked at it, I saw 20 years, 30 years is a long time. Things can deteriorate in a hurry over that time period. And, you know, another piece of information, a man called when I was on Dan Rivers, and they were saying that the district is using one big kindergarten class to justify pushing towards this, that there's 140 in kindergarten, but only 105 in first grade and beyond. So I had Craig send me the numbers, like, this is what it is.
That's not correct.
Kindergarten 138, first grade 144, second grade 147, and third grade 130, 4 126, 5 132, and 6 133. So you have 126 or higher kids in the first 7 grades right now. It bottomed out, like there's 118 10th graders. So that shows it kind of bottomed out. But like, this is an objective fact. We can go count these kids tomorrow morning if you want. But that's literally how many kids we have in the school. It's growing.
Right. And how about next year? Craig told us the other day that I think we all saw, they sent out that survey that if you have a 4-year-old attending preschool that's not one of these like 9 preschools in the area, let us know. In those 9 preschools, there are 223 4-year-olds that are eligible to enter kindergarten in Poland next year.
And let's subtract what? 30, 40, 50 maybe? I don't know. I don't know.
That's a big jump.
That's a big jump.
That from
big. They're going to be opening up a school. I mean, they're going to have to. And then they open up a school, like Eddie said, you have to hire new faculty. You have, to cooks and
another bus stop.
Another bus stop, I mean, think about it.
Right.
And again, I don't know about your neighborhood, guys. My neighborhood, I know they're probably watching, has a bunch of people. So we probably have 100 houses back here in Chardonnay and Chablis in the vineyards. And I would say of that, 80% do not have kids. Okay? That is, honest to God, 80% don't have kids. These people are not going to be here forever. Kids are coming. This, like Isaac and I have been saying for literally the last 3 years, our town is going to turn over. We are at the turnover stage now where people are going to start moving out or whatever, not be living here anymore. And kids are moving in because every time a house sells, there's kids.
And
Luke, I want to say that in doing the work that we've done, there have been a lot of people who are in an older generation per se that have been very supportive. So, and it's not all people of a
we don't want to turn it into that. That's
it's definitely, it's just
it's not old versus young. I'm not even saying, I'm not saying old versus young, for the levy. I'm saying the numbers of the kids going into school are going to continue to rise.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure.
Go ahead, Eddie. Go ahead.
No, just from my perspective, and I can only speak for myself. If this were just, if I just was supporting the levy because I have young kids and I think you should always support schools and things like that, I'd put a sign in my yard, I'd vote yes, and I'd shut up. The only reason I'm speaking out for this is I truly believe that you might disagree with me. I truly believe this is a good value for everybody in the community.
100%.
This would be a true game changer for property value. And, a couple of the commenters have said let hear opposing viewpoints. And I was hoping to talk about some of those tonight. One of the ones I saw was the increased taxes would be a deterrent, just like the new schools would be a positive thing. And I mean, again, I would defer to you guys on this, but I think brand new schools move the needle a little bit more than a 0.45 increase in your property taxes. I'm not saying that's a great, people would love that their taxes would be higher, but the new schools I think are more of a game changer there.
I mean, I would say from a housing point of view, number one all the time is schools. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It is.
I see it in my job too, recruiting doctors here. That's the first thing they ask about.
100%. And
in the argument too, playing devil's advocate, they always say, well, it's not based on school buildings. It's based on school performance, which is true. But if you have tied performance, which we do, or similar performance with South Range and Canfield, the next thing they say is, well, if they have a new school, why not? Why wouldn't I pick that one over?
Dude, if you're looking for houses, if I go to list my house, right? You can't tell me on the MLS listing, Isaac, you just said, I'm not going to put new schools, brand new sparkling schools for your kids to go to.
Yeah,
and that's not going to be
school system held with high regard. If that passes, immediately everybody who sells their house in Poland is going to put new school being built in the next 5 years or whatever it is. That will immediately be on every single one of the listings.
Yeah.
Real do you fast. Happen to know, living out in the South Range School District, do you happen to know how much their population grew as a result of the new facility?
That's a good question. I do not know that.
I know. What I can tell you is my brother-in-law had to go camp out at 3 a.m. to get an open enrollment spot at South Range. That's how well Steve Rowan and his team are doing there. That's what they built a new campus there, and they have people coming from all over the area to open enroll there. So
the new schools are attracting new families. Yeah. It's not scaring people away from the community.
No. Yeah. Because the thing is, the people who have kids in the school system view it as they know how important it is. They know how important their kids' education is. And that is worth a lot more than those taxes.
Yeah. It's almost like a wedding where there's certain categories in life that people don't think about the cost as much. Right. I think buying a home and new schools are one of those. That's like where, the money can escalate in a hurry. And that's the point I'm trying to make, that when you step back and weigh that against the taxes, it could easily pay for itself and then some.
And like Eddie said, I wish people were more transparent, because the ultimate argument is, if you truly can't afford it, if you truly can't afford that even incremental change in your taxes, then I would just say that. Be transparent, like you said, Eddie, and then that's your argument. But if it is truly about money and you're worried about money and it's too much money, think about how much people were complaining when they tried to pass it last time 10 years ago. And then you said, now how the cost of everything has gone up so much. Yeah. The property values since then have gone up so much. And it would have paid for itself easily in property value.
Mm-hmm. And I know some people might argue that your property value is going to go up anyway. This doesn't move the needle. And that's, again, the point I want to make after researching these schools. I really think we're at a point where these buildings are going to start to be a detriment to property. I know we've kind of rode the wave for a long time, and values have continued to go up in Poland, but the buildings are getting to an age when that's not going to happen anymore. And that's why I think tonight we're at a critical point now.
Correct.
Yeah, we just finally clicked on the comments because we've never done this before.
There's some questions
and I
there
did
we can answer.
Somebody way back asking where the buildings are going to be. So the current building at North will be torn down, and that'll be a K-5. And then so all the K-5 kids can move. And I don't know if the district's planning to build the high school while the North building's being built, but they could, because the high school will be built in the current parking lot in the stadium in the current building. So no disruption to everyone in the high school. And then once K-5 is done, the middle schoolers, the 7th and 8th grade middle schoolers, can come out of the high school, which I know people really want to see happen. And I believe the 6th to the 8th graders, I think, will go to McKinley while the middle school's being done. And then they'll move to the middle school, and then McKinley will be knocked down.
Yeah. I think actually, Diane, because the 7th and 8th graders could stay at the high school as they are now during construction. So I think the only displacement would be 1 year where the 6th graders, I think, would have to go to Union, and that's it. Nobody else would ever, construction could happen around that otherwise.
Yeah, are they, I don't think they'd go, would they go to Union or would they go to McKinley? That's what I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I think
they'd go to McKinley because it's already active and ready for have students in it.
And
for construction, but
I have to do a quick advertisement.
Okay.
All right, real fast. Youngstown Mob Talk presents Cav Bomb. Don't miss this once in a lifetime event, Friday, November 10th, only in Youngstown. Do you guys know about this thing?
No. I did watch the documentary. Have you ever watched the Youngstown documentary that they did about 10, 12 years ago? It's great. It's a really cool thing to watch. The only thing I think they missed in the documentary is there wasn't a section on food, and we all know how important our food is to us here in Youngstown.
These guys are having a bunch of special people come in, talk about a car bomb that went off. It was like a big thing. It kind of started the mob wars back in the 70s and 80s. And these guys have a talk. You can buy it online. It sounds very, very cool. And actually they have a group called the Mob Talk. It's all about the Youngstown mob stuff. So again, thank these guys for sponsoring us for this next month. So I just wanted to get that out there. So thank you guys. All right. Sorry. I had to do a little commercial. What happens to Union?
I believe that. So that would be the only, I think the idea there would be to turn it into a community center. Obviously, a couple, but that's zoned only for certain uses. So I think and granted, it's very early, but the plan there, I think, would be to eventually turn that into a community center turn it into a gym, kind of like what Camel's done to great success there, kind of make that your center there with classrooms for various things. And also, like in a gym for that.
Awesome. Let's see here. What other, I'm trying to think of other questions.
I see somebody asked about, like if their kids go to Catholic school or homeschool, will the additional property taxes go toward it was at 902. Yeah, that one. I honestly don't really know. I know, didn't the state of Ohio pass something with school choice and they get certain dollars to send to either use for homeschool material and their kid to Catholic school? I really don't know.
I'm not sure how on the levy, how it affects, because the levy is just a pure property tax,
right?
To build the building. So I think that's two buckets of money, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. We're scrolling questions.
Yeah. While they're doing that, what I love about the plan, when Mr. Hockenberry did his meetings, I know it ended up being between a K-12 campus and more of the community school type settings, or doing nothing, which, we said has a cost to it as well. And a majority of the people that they spoke with wanted the community schools back. And I love that idea. I mean, I would have been fine with the K-12, but I also love the idea of the community schools. There's just something special about having those community schools. I know that playground at McKinley is at North is a very important part, not just to the school, but to the neighborhood. And passing this levy will address that current eyesore. And again, having all the space there for K-5.
Yeah, that North campus is gorgeous. That property is gorgeous.
We love it. Like, this is great.
And it alleviates traffic in the village as well.
That's what I was just going to say. The traffic.
The other thing too,
living on College Street aren't going to have lines and lines of cars coming down their streets 4 times a day. Yeah. Traffic patterns would improve. I don't know if it'll fix those lights. But
how about this one? This David is from Canfield.
I'm Mr. Mullane.
Hey, Dave.
Dave Mullane. All right. I pitched the idea of Beat the Bulldogs levy campaign for our project in Canfield. The committee voted the idea wrong. Hoping both issues pull through. It's a good thing for all of us. Brings in young professional families and the local economy. Very good.
Yes.
For you guys, just as hard as our. I mean, it's both communities need it.
Yes. Please, Poland, please.
David, you should do it so that we can light a fire over here and say, "Did you hear those people over there at Canfield talking shit?" Now we really pass it.
We should all just instantly. We'll do beat the Cardinals and beat the Bulldogs. Just immediately start it.
Hey, that made me think about some people are saying how, the way schools have been funded is unconstitutional and therefore they're not going to vote for the levy for that reason. Listen, the community itself has no control over that. Whether we agree with the way schools are funded or not, that is beyond our control. What we do have control of is what we can do within our own communities. Good, bad, right, or wrong. We have the control as voters to decide what we want for our community. And sometimes that requires a little bit of an investment. And I shouldn't say a little bit. It is a bigger investment, but we do think you get a lot of value for your money. It solves so many of the issues that the schools are currently facing as far as space and so there's so many. If you go to the website, there's a why yes section, and it's all the reasons why we need schools. And if anybody has a why yes that they would like me to add to the website, I'm happy to do that, because we know every person has a unique perspective and different reasons, not just the reasons that the committee has come up with. So we would love to hear your thoughts as to why you want to vote yes.
Awesome.
There was Poland Village Council member Abby. Oh my gosh, I can't remember her last name now.
Bozak.
Bozak. Abby Bozak.
Just met her. She's super nice.
I was talking to her, and she mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I didn't even know this, and it actually made a lot of sense when she said it. Poland benefits from having schools placed throughout the community because it marks a pin drop in each one of those locations that sex offenders can't live within a mile of a school. So you're keeping essentially predators and sex offenders are accused out of the community because you're giving them less space to move into.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's actually
I never knew that.
Smart.
Yeah, that's
I just looked it up earlier, and you should probably go ahead and go do that search and see where they're all living.
Right.
Yeah.
It puts a perfect symmetry in the community for the schools. You have the high school over here. Yeah, you have 6 through 8 at the middle school, like we've known since the mid '80s, and then the North Element. That's just such a great tight knit neighborhood there. I think it's so perfect for the elementary school. And like we said, with village traffic, you have K through 6 now. Think about K through 6 students and how many get dropped off, and how many less students would be getting dropped off if it was just 6, 7, and 8. So you alleviate that problem.
Our traffic in the middle of town at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, I avoid it like you can't even begin. All right, let's see here. David's saying committee. Oh, yeah, he's just hanging out watching. Dana, we already talked about that. Actually, that was one of the first points I made about the accessibility for disabled students. That's always a touching point for me. With the kids and everything, and we will always do our best to support those kids, because it's just something they deserve, is to be able to get to class in time and maneuver and all that. So,
but I guess the other thing, the sheer size of the classrooms. When we all went to school, you got to school and you sat in your desk and you listened to the teacher and you looked forward and you better not talk to the classes collaborate so much, especially elementary. I know when my oldest is in 6th grade now, started like in kindergarten, I think it was for math, they had all the stations, and they were going around and working as a team and learning very hands-on and in groups and not just sitting at your desk looking forward. And, the current classroom sizes just really aren't very friendly for that, because there's room for desks and not moving around or, up-to-date learning, basically.
There's so many things like that have changed in the last 30 years that most of us that went to school in the 80s and 90s that, or even before that haven't been in a school in a while wouldn't even have known. I'm in that category till I started looking at this more and I had kids.
Eddie, a lot of stuff has changed since you and I went to school. I'm probably older than you. Wait until your kids are older and you try and do math with them.
Yeah. My wife had to teach it. I didn't recognize it. I thought I was pretty good at math. I had no clue.
Common Core.
Don't make me get into a tangent. I will go off on a tangent about, listen, it's not as bad as you think. It's conceptual mathematics.
I am a loan officer.
Stephanie, I'm proud of you that you're able to understand that there are sometimes better ways to do things because smarter people than us have come up with ways and understanding of new ideas are sometimes better. And it's better to learn these new things because it's better for everybody overall. Good for you for not being a stubborn person.
I should have you come over here and see how you can do with Cameron, my 8-year-old's math. I'm telling you, you won't be able to do it. It's not possible.
If you look at it, like I think I helped Lucas once, and then I did like a whole afternoon of
like lines and layers and
it's like breaking it down, which is kind of what you do in your head. You don't even realize. But yeah, I've looked into it.
The point though, just because it is different from when you went to school does not make it a bad thing.
No, it's not right, Stephanie. Don't tell me that.
Correct.
I didn't do it that way. It's not the way you're supposed to
I
do
think
it.
if people catch my drift, that applies to multiple things, not just Common Core math. I think there are a lot of things.
It's not even Common Core math.
Whatever it's called.
Whatever
it's called. I don't know.
But with all that said, I really think these new schools are the perfect combination of that because it lets us incorporate all the methods of new learning, but still with those classic, beautiful sites that we're used to in the classical architecture and honoring our heritage.
And I know that the district's planning on taking things, from the current buildings that have historical value. Hockenberry was saying apparently when the middle school was rebuilt in 1901 from the original seminary from the 1800s, the foundation is still the foundation that was under the original seminary. So there's still rooms down there. And so he said they're going to try to, there's that big cupola on the roof of the middle school. They're going to try to use a lot of those historical pieces, in the new buildings, because Poland, we're probably the oldest district, in the entire state. And, we don't want to just throw stuff away because we're getting new buildings.
And that's unfortunate. We know that Poland has such a proud, rich history. And that's why we went with the proud tradition. But we recognize that tradition and that history, but we also recognize a need for forward movement. So that's why we went with bright future, proud tradition, bright future, trying to tie the two concepts together into an overall improvement of our community.
And I hope everybody knows this wasn't 8 people in a room taking our best guess. The work that Mr. Hockenberry did was so impressive. Whatever you think of the school plan, the work he did was so impressive over the last 2 years since he took over. He's met with so many people and talked about so many different scenarios. This really was based on actual data from people.
He did 166 in-home meetings and like 33 community meetings.
Yeah. Yes. I about drove off the road.
Those meetings were people of all ages, all financial backgrounds, different locations throughout town. So he's
a very involved superintendent.
Yeah.
I almost threw my phone out the window when I heard a former school board member from 30 years ago or however long ago he was on there saying he called Hockenberry and never got a phone call back, and other people saying they weren't invited to the meetings, they never knew about this, they didn't hear about it.
Everybody.
My dog Blue is sleeping on the couch behind me. If he wanted to have a meeting with Mr. Hockenberry about the school,
exactly. The people, and I got so upset at that former school board member when he was on the air, just straight up lying about stuff. That's the stuff where we get back to, if you don't want to pay for it, say it. Yeah. Don't make stuff.
Don't muddy the water with stuff that's not true. Yeah.
Right. Or don't say that you're not unhappy with something the former administration did 25 years ago. So you're punishing first graders.
That's spilled milk.
Because you're not happy. And it's like, well, did you go to school board meetings and speak up? Did you ask questions?
You can't.
It's not fair to the kids.
The criticism, I think, from the same, sorry to interrupt again.
No, go.
The criticism that I heard, I think, from the same school board member was that now Poland has too many administrators and is spending too much on administrators. I wish they would go and see the work that Dr. Hoffmaster, like Dr. Hoffmaster could go be a superintendent at 50 different districts around the state. She's working here. She stayed in Poland. She's overqualified for her job. We have her just doing curriculum. Matt doing a great thing. Janet, who you mentioned, the team there is so great. And I just wish some of these opinions, I just wish people would research it a little more before they spread those opinions.
Another thing that guy said was he was saying that like Hockenberry was overpaid and the administrators were overpaid. Though I did some research. It's called research. Did some research. School board and the committee, the hiring committee, they can't say like, well, we like this guy, we're going to give him $200,000. They base it on an average of the area for each administrative position. It's not just like, hey, Eddie's a smart guy. I like Eddie. I'm going to give him $200,000 to come and be a principal or a superintendent. It doesn't work like that.
It's like any job.
Go ahead, Eddie.
No, it's like any job. You're not given this salary out of the goodness of your heart. It's what the market bears for, a successful person in that position.
Right. And just the fact that that guy was on there saying that, and that's again why I got so freaking mad at him, because it was like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you're trying to verify that you were a school board member for like 3 years. Like, great. Yeah. Fantastic. I worked at Chili's.
And I hear you guys. And I just think, and then this is true of perhaps that person or some others, is people make a lot of their decisions based on their own personal experiences. And it's hard to see outside, your door, or what's that saying? Your bubble, the window, these kind of
portal.
And what we want people to do is realize, like, things have changed. Some things I wish haven't changed. I wish there were some things that were still the same as they were, 10, 15 years ago. But like, I also think a lot of people are making decisions based out of fear and instead of facts. And I think that's kind of what we as a committee want to get across, is we want them to know the facts so that they can make their decisions based on actual facts and not hearsay or fear mongering or
opinions that are
general fear. I know these are scary times. Right. I get it. Like, who knows? But we just hope that, people hear the information. Everybody has the right to their opinion, whether we agree with it or not. But just please take into consideration the actual facts and make decisions based on the facts and not fear.
People fear what they don't understand. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. But, and I just love, I want people to not just stand on the sidelines or stand in the grandstands and shout and yell without being involved in the community and without learning what they're yelling about. It's just doing nothing but, like Eddie said, muddying the water. If you're going to be upset about something, at least talk to a few people that have knowledge on the topic and then start yelling.
Yeah, if you do that research and still have the same opinion, more power to you. That's all I ask, though, is just that people delve into the issues and the numbers a little bit more before forming their opinion.
Right. I think that's smart. All right. Well, dude, that's an hour already. Holy cow.
Are there any questions we can answer? Or?
I didn't see any other questions. I didn't see anything that we missed.
Yeah, I didn't see any questions.
Diane, was there a guy building a cabinet in the background of your?
No, he was pouring us more drinks.
Yeah. Mr. Hockenberry just said, let's ask the students what they want. And that reminded me, one more point I wanted to make. And please, I say this with respect. I understand being against the levy. I understand talking about that with your friends. I understand talking about it on social media. I just have to say, the vote no yard signs have just really rubbed me the wrong way, and I think are a bad look for our community. I just think if people drive through Poland, that's all they see. There's no nuance in a yard sign. It just says, say no to new schools. It doesn't reflect well on our community's attitude towards education. And kids see that.
Yeah, they're upsetting the kids for sure.
Yeah, we've
Eddie,
had
you better be careful. Eddie, you better be careful, because you're going to get called a bully like us for talking about people's yard signs.
I say that with respect. I know people are passionate. I know they have there's reasonable arguments against the levy. The yard signs rub me the wrong way a little bit, just because of the lack of nuance and the fact that kids would see it. I just think something like a school levy is a little bit more of a sensitive issue.
I took some grief, but I had 3 6th graders in my car, and literally the conversation with those 3 kids was, why do they not want us to have new schools?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids don't. I mean, kids.
And I didn't say anything.
They know what's going on.
They know. I didn't say anything. I just let them talk. And it was amazing to hear, why would somebody put that sign? And I said, they were talking, and then one of them said, well, even if they don't want new schools, why would they put that up? Because the kids see it. Like literally a sixth grader said that, Eddie. A sixth grader. It was like, wow, that is something. So go ahead and enjoy your yard sign.
Also,
right. Somebody posted that the renderings show 3 connected schools. Is this however you're referring to 3 separate schools? There's no renderings that show 3 connected schools. Maybe just in the pictures because they're all like next to each other.
I will say, if you go to a computer and go to the website, it's a lot easier to see, more so than if you're on your device. The mobile version isn't the greatest. So if you can go to your Chromebook, desktop, PC, laptop, all the terms, you should see the pictures there. They are 3 separate buildings, and and these are just renderings. These, it may not look exactly like this. If it passes, they will do the design phase, but I do know matching the aesthetic of our community is an important feature that the district wants to include in the buildings.
Linda, I've invited I've invited Say No people on the podcast too, and they keep declining. I keep asking.
Yeah, we've tried.
Well, I think the con's pretty simple. The con is that it's $441 a year per 100,000 on your house, and that's a lot of money. I'm not sugarcoating that, but and like we said, that's the argument that
440. 440. What's the average?
We tried to invite them. What do you want us to do?
And I'm trying to paraphrase for them anyway and address their arguments.
I literally posted, Linda, I posted it in Everything Poland tonight. I had the same response that, stop posting this in Everything Poland.
Stephanie's got a good for this.
If you're vote no, come on the podcast and talk about how voting no is the right choice. And they said, no, thank you.
Yeah, everybody said
I'd
no.
love to have a dialogue with somebody on the vote no committee. I really think that could be productive to kind of clear up and maybe we have some misconceptions about them. I think that'd be good to clear that up. But from what I understand, just hasn't engaged.
I did reach out to a former board member and said, hey, I would love to talk. I like hearing different opinions because it helps me grow as a person. I did reach out and I was turned down by him. And I also did reach out to the Say No group as well. I did have some conversations with a member of the group we did have good conversations, and it was fine. It was good. But it when I asked about doing something jointly, nobody was really willing to kind of step up and be willing to go on both of the Poland group side or the groups, which I get. I mean, it's not easy facing people that don't agree with you. But again, this is kind of where my whole call to action thing at the beginning I wanted to do is we are adults and we do want to have civil conversations and we want to model the behavior that we want our students. Can you tell I'm a teacher? We want our own children to demonstrate. And that offer still stands to that former board member. I'm happy to discuss with you. I'm willing to, and our committee is willing to talk. We just want to make sure that when we talk that the information, it's straight up facts. And I know some facts are being shared, which the facts are there, but then, I don't know, I'm just going to stop there. But there has been some collaboration and there have been people from that group that have been very kind and communicative, and others not so much.
I'm not saying everybody has bad intentions. I know even of the opponents, most of them have good intentions here, but I just think there's a lot of misinformation out there that contributes.
And we are trying so hard to get the information out there. We really are. And none of the information, we don't make it up ourselves. So everything we do does go through the thing. So again, we know that there's different viewpoints and people are entitled to their own opinions, and that's fine. I just want everybody to be civil and to make their decisions based on facts.
Right. And, across the state, how many, I think Craig said 600 some school districts across the state. We're one of the last districts still in, old facilities.
Yeah,
and
it's not fair. The state
I'm not
should be
saying
paying more.
that we need to do it because everybody else has gotten new facilities. It's just, it's one of those things where it's time. It's not fair for our kids to have to learn in old, outdated facilities. Why? That's not fair to the kids. And you know what? There's a generation gap. 2 generations ago paid for schools, and our parents' generation basically haven't had to pay yet. And now we're all willing to shoulder it because it's what's best for the kids in the district and the community.
Yeah, awesome. I'd love for the state to ride in on a white horse here and pay. They really should be paying half of this or more, but that's just how it is. It's what we have to deal with. Poland doesn't have a big retail tax base. Right. Unfortunately, we're stuck with 80% of the tab. It would have been 88% of the tab 8 years ago, I believe Bo told me. But, we're still stuck with the lion's share. But even with all that said, you get it back on your property value. Most areas around the state with the best schools, the taxes tend to match it.
Linda, what information? There's a website you can go right there, vote yes. Or if you just want the straight up information, I could give you.
She's asking about the board meetings. Linda, they have to be neutral. They can't go one way or the other. So they'll give you facts on both sides, but they can't really make an argument for one way or the other. So.
They're not discussing the levy at the board meetings. They're discussing the business that they have at hand to run the district.
Right. But the school website does have the Forging the Bulldog Future that kind of has the costs of all the maintenance and repairs, I think from 2019 to 2023, and all financial documents are public record. So that's where we go for our information. Yeah.
Okay. And Linda, I'll be honest with you. I appreciate you going out and trying to find information. That's like neutral information. That's a good way to make a decision. All right, we're at an hour already. Holy crap. 5 minutes. Anybody want to give an elevator speech before we go?
Well, I mean, I do. I'm just going to say this, and then I'll be. This experience has been not anything I thought it would be. I never anticipated that I would, be on a podcast or on a school levy committee. But I would encourage people to get involved in whether it's the school committees, whether it's the PTO, whether it's the Lions Club, or what's the other one? Rotary. That's the one I was thinking of. Get involved, because when you get involved, you discover a whole set of skills you didn't know existed. You get to meet people you've never met before, and you learn and grow as a person. And then my other thought is, it's okay to have a different opinion. I just want everyone to be respectful of one another's opinions and be civil.
Stephanie, do we have a yard sign pass out that you wanted to mention? Are we doing that this weekend?
Well, we had one on Sunday, and then we had one tonight. We still have some people that haven't been able to pick up their signs yet. We can try it for a third one, and we can do that. We can try. It's just,
there's not a whole lot of us on the committee.
I forgot you did the second one.
We don't have time to drive around, unfortunately, and put yard signs in everybody's yard. Yeah. We just don't have the manpower to do that. I have 3 kids in a business. She's got 2 kids. Eddie's got kids. Rachella's on here. She's got kids. So we're doing the best with the few of us that are active.
How many signs are left you picked up?
Gosh, I don't know. We did a lot tonight.
Probably 50 to 75, maybe.
Yeah.
Ish.
We have approximately 250 signs already out. Awesome. We would love to have some more. You can always email me I'll give you my address. You can pick them up.
Yeah. Muransky@gmail.com. If you send me an address, we'll find a way to get one to your house.
Yeah, we'll get it. We're trying as best we can.
Tell you what, interest rates are pretty high. Isaac, I got a lot of free time right now. I could probably
right. I just wanted to say one more thing. Being in the real estate mortgage industry, communities go through life cycles, right? Where they go through a growth period, then they go through a plateau period, and eventually they go and they start to decline and they go down. Every community in Poland has done a great job of growth. Then it's slowly starting to plateau, and it's holding that plateau, right? You want to hold that plateau. If you start to stagnate and not do things to better the community you live in, it will eventually decline. I would hate for all the great Poland people to be dead and gone, living in their precious or dead in their precious graveyard by the school, by Union, and be surrounded by a hood, the freaking a terrible neighborhood, because they refuse to adapt and get better as a community. That will happen eventually if you don't try and make the community better.
As the costs only worsen every year, Isaac, you're exactly right. One more point. Our consultant came in to the board meeting and they were going through the renderings. And I think Dr. Donopoulos asked the consultant when they opened it up for questions. So this was like a year ago or two, but they're like, we tried this in 2015. And how much have costs gone up since then? 10 or 15%? And the consultant goes, they've gone up 30% in the past year alone. So wow. Again, give me the bird in hand for what this costs now. I don't want to know what's going to happen in the future as building costs continue to escalate and it becomes a worse and worse value.
Right. Can you put EJ's comment up?
Yeah, EJ. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's okay to have a difference in opinions so long as opinion are informed. When opinions are misconstrued as factual, that's when problems arise.
I totally agree.
That goes for anybody, not just either side. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. All right. Well, we got to go. So, guys, good luck.
Thank you so much for having us all on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep up the good work. And yeah, I vote yes. Again, this is we were pretty straightforward with this. We all support the levy. We all want it to happen. And yeah, go. Anything you guys need from us, let us know. Steph, I'll keep trying to be good. I'm just biting my tongue.
I'm trying. I know.
I'm trying. It's still hard for me. I'm trying to be good. Stephanie put the pulled my Rottweiler leash back on me, so I'm being good now.
The nice teacher. Luke was always a teacher's pet.
There was a question about they couldn't find the Forging the Bulldog Future document. If I email it to you, well, I'll just post it on.
Post it on Everything Poland. Yeah.
Where do you want me to post that?
You can post it on Everything Poland.
Okay, I will do that.
We play Struthers on Friday or something.
Yeah, beat Struthers.
Big
game.
Big game. 4 seed and get 2 home games.
Big game. Got to win it. So big game on Friday. So, all right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. We will see you all later. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, bye. I'm gonna kick out.
Well, I feel like Eddie's smarter than us, Luke, and
think
he's done a little more research.
I think Diane and Stephanie are smarter than us.
Right, correct.
I think across the board they're smarter than us.
So, but honestly, though, so that people don't say that we didn't invite them on. If you were vote no for the school, I'd love for you to come on and tell us how it is.
You know what's funny though. You know what's funny? What amuses me about this whole thing? So Rivers and Verb can be against the levy, right? And it's not a problem. But we have our show and we support the levy, and everyone's like, you guys are biased.
Right. And it's like, you're mad at us for efficiently having people watch our podcast and efficiently creating groups that people go into. Like
crazy.
That's what. So just like Verb and Rivers play to their audience and have their opinions that their audience tunes into. And then they, we're doing the exact same thing and giving our opinions about things.
It's crazy.
But then because we have a following, we have an audience within those community pages, we're like getting backlash from it. Explain how that's right.
Well, I'm sure Rivers. Well, I bet Rivers and Verb get backlash about everything they do too. I would assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course they do, and there are people who complained about them online, of course. But it's like, it's just so frustrating sometimes. But thank you everybody for watching. Whether
Linda said you're being too sensitive. Man up.
Okay, you're right. Hey, just so you know, Linda, sensitivity isn't a negative. Sensitivity is a positive.
Yeah,
I think men throughout history have murdered over each other over stupid things due to just not having enough sensitivity and talking about things at the time. So yeah, I'm a sensitive man. I'll admit it.
I'm sensitive too. I have feelings, Isaac.
Right. I care.
I have feelings.
I care. I care what people think, Linda.
I care what people think too. Nobody knows.
But you know what, Linda?
Me,
keep trying. Keep trying. You're doing a great job, Linda. Keep trying.
They call me names and I cry.
Right.
They call me a bully. They call me a jerk and I cry. That's just what you all to know that. EJ. You have to answer for freezing when you go through, Luke? Huh? What's he talking about? I don't
know what that means.
Okay. Hey, you want to do a talk back on Thursday?
Yeah, we're doing a talk back on Thursday. Like I said, whether you're for or against the levy, I appreciate you for being here. Thank you for watching. Helps us grow as a podcast. Also, if you haven't already, go down below and give us a like in that direction down there. Down there below Luke, there's a little like button. Give us a like. We appreciate it. Linda, if there's one thing I will never be a politician because I refuse to pick a side.
EJ's talking about when I froze when I finally talked to Verb the other day.
The Verb, yeah, you totally froze.
I didn't think you'd ever get through.
You took the annoying tough guy approach of you should be thanking us. It's like, oh, dude,
I had to take a grenade for everybody. I was the first one that got through. I had to freaking lead the path.
I think he likes me now. I officially won him over after talking to him the other day.
No, I talked to Rivers.
I want him to come on the show. I'd go to the studio and talk to him if he wants to do that.
Yeah, it's all good. Eddie just apologized for interrupting. I'm like, dude, we interrupt you.
Yeah, we're so annoying, Eddie. You did great, dude.
It's hard too when you're not in person. So go ahead, give us our advertisement.
What?
Our advertisement for being loan officer.
MLO Bros stands for Mortgage Loan Originator Brothers. So if you're going to buy a house in the future, please think of us to help you with financing your next home purchase. We'd love to help you out. If you're moving into Poland, if you're moving out of Poland, if the school levy passes and you want to move to this community, call us. We'll help you get financed. If the school levy doesn't pass and the inevitable downfall of Poland community happens and you want to move out of Poland, give us a call. We'll help finance that as well. We're financed in like all the states. So if you want to totally leave Ohio, you can
when the levy doesn't pass and crime runs rampant and the schools shut down and kids are doing drugs in the street.
Or, when you want to downsize and move out of Poland because your taxes are too high, call us. We'll help you We'll help get you financed.
Dude, people are going to be like, it's the plan. That's why they support it. They want to help everyone finance.
They want us all to move out so they can make money off of us. So if you want to move out of the community because your taxes are too high, call us. We'll help you get financed. If you want to move, eventually downsize to a smaller house within the Poland community because you never leave, call us. We'll help you get financed.
All right. We'll be back Thursday with the talk back. We're going to talk about issue 2. No. Yeah, the weed one. Issue 2.
The weed one? Yeah, sure.
The weed one. We'll talk about issue 1, which is like abortion, I think, or something. I don't know. It's sketchy waters there. And then we'll talk about some other stuff and all the stuff happening. So we'll talk to everybody then. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye.
Bye, everybody.